Good morning, guys. I hope that you have been keeping well and safe in this lockdown stage in which we are. Welcome to the CAT webinar. We're doing grade 11 today, the Word, the Excel and the Access. And I'm so glad to see that there are so many people that are attending. I hope that I will be able to help you all. We are doing most of the practical work. At the later stage, we will do the HTML. I just want to give a few minutes for everybody to sign in before we start officially. I will be asking during the presentation if there are any questions. If you hear a different voice in the background, that is Auntie Serena Jordan. She's the organizer and she will see who needs to ask a question. If you have a question, just raise your hand and Serena will unmute you and then you will be able to ask the question before we carry on. If I see that we are running out of time, I will tell you time is getting few, so rather post your questions in the question box, which is on the right-hand side of your screen. Just click there on questions and then you just type the question and Serena will make sure that I get all the questions and then I will answer it with email or whatever other platform we can do. So let us start. Just with a few basics. If you are struggling to hear me, make sure your audio is on and that your speaker volume is turned up. I've got mine up onto the highest setting, so maybe it will be a good idea if you can do that as well. You will automatically be muted when you join the session. If you have any questions, you can ask your question in the question box or you just raise your hand. To raise your hand, click the icon on your dashboard below or on your right. Download this presentation and additional sources in the handout box below or on your right. You will also find all this information in the question box below or on your right. Remember to send us your questions. Okay, attendees are encouraged to ask questions and leave comments. However, irrelevant or inappropriate comments will result in the attendee being dismissed from the session. If we did not get your question, just mail it to the email address given there at the bottom at academics@impact.co.za. Questions in the question box will be answered and made available afterwards. If you did not receive it, also send an email to info@impact.co.za and then you can visit the Impact YouTube channel for recordings of the session. So as you can see that this session is being recorded. Good, let us start. We are starting with Word and what is a style. Sometimes you will find this question in your theory tests or exams as well, where they ask you what a style is. And the answer would be it's a combination of formatting attributes saved as a collection under one name. So if you are in Home, you will see in your toolbar at the top in the ribbon, on the right-hand side, you will see they're usually heading 1, heading 2, title. And if you click on the drop-down arrow there, it will open even more different styles that you can use. To apply it, you would just highlight the text in your document and then click on the specific style you want. And then that style will then be applied to the text. If you want to change a style, which is a very popular question in your exams, you would go to the style, let's say, for example, the heading 2 style, you right-click on it and then you choose Modify. And this window that's on your screen now is the one that will open. There you can see the name is heading 2. And it's based on normal. You can sometimes they tell you to base the style on another style. Then you would just choose the drop-down arrow and choose the style that you want. Then you have the different formatting there. You can choose your font styles, the font size. At the moment, you can see it's Calibri Light and it's size 13, bold, italic, underline. Right next to that, you can choose the colors, the font color. Below that, you will see the alignment, your left, center, right, justify, and then the vertical alignment as well, indentations. If you go right to the bottom of that screen, there's a format button, bottom left. If you click on that, there you can do all kinds of changes as well to paragraph styles, tab styles, and so on. Right above that, you will see there's a section there for automatically update. Also very popular to ask in exams, where they would tell you to apply a specific style and make sure that it updates to all the styles in the document. That is an important one to remember. Okay, there, if you have clicked on the format button, here is what you can see. You can change the font, paragraph, tabs, border, language, frame, numbering, shortcut key, text effects. And remember, in exams, any one of those options can be asked. So if you're not sure what to do, click on format. And then usually you will find some kind of keyword that will indicate to you what it is that they want you to do with a specific style. When you want to create a new style, do you see there at the top? I said there, click on Styles dialog box. So right underneath all the heading 1, heading 2, heading 3 styles, you will see there's a Styles dialog box. It's a very small button. I need to see it with my glasses. Without it, I cannot see it. But if you click on that, then a window opens. It gives you then a list of all the styles. And right in the bottom left corner, you will see that big arrow that I have here at the bottom. There is your new styles button. And that is the one that you would click on to create a new style. Then this window will open. It's exactly the same as the modify one. In this case, you would now choose a specific name, and then you would fill it in exactly as you did with all your changings and modifyings that you have done. Are there any questions about styles? Styles is rather an important part of exams right up to grade 12. You will have to create new styles and modify as well. Any questions? Just raise your hand and then Serena will let me know.
I see there is Corey van Vuren. I'll quickly unmute you. Oh, sorry.
Okay, hello, Corey.
Oh, sorry. I see the audio is off on her side. Just quickly want to see if there's anybody else. Henry Delport. I'm just quickly going to unmute Henry.
Hello, Henry.
Henry is self-muted. Henry, can you quickly just unmute yourself if you have a question to ask?
Hallo juffrou.
Hallo Henry, hoe kan ek help?
Okay juffrou, ek wil net weet wat is belangrike vrae wat gevra kan word vir enige praktiese eksamens.
Wel, weet jy, 'n style gaan jy definitief kry, soos wat ons nou bespreek het. Onthou net, julle eksamens gaan oor die eerste en die tweede kwartaal se werk, so julle gaan alles daarvan moet leer, maar spesifiek gaan julle nou baie moet fokus op dit wat julle nou in hierdie kwartaal gaan leer. So wat styles aanbetref, ja, julle gaan dit kry en tot in matriek toe. En dan die calculations van Excel en so, dit gaan ons nou by kom. Op die ou end moet julle alles weet.
Okay nee, dit is reg. Dankie baie juffrou, ek waardeer.
Dis 'n plesier. Is there somebody else?
Just quickly have a look for you. Luca, I'm just quickly going to unmute you. Luca.
Hello,
Sorry, the
Luca.
question. Hello, Luca is it's his mother at the moment.
Okay, hi. Can I help you?
I just wanted to know, we're battling to download the PDF file. So that's just for later. You can go on with the session.
Yes. Okay. We'll sort that one. You can post the question in the questions box, and then we will be able to help you there as well.
Perfect. I did that. Thank you.
Okay. Somebody else?
Okay, doesn't seem like it, Marianne. I think you can continue as is.
Okay. All right. Let's carry on. Now we are going to start with Excel. And we're going to start with one of the most important functions that you will need to know. And it's really important that you do understand how the if function works, because when you get to matric, it is going to be expanded even more. And if you struggle with the basics, you are going to struggle with it. So the basic function is, as you know, every function starts with the equal sign and you type if. Then you need to ask a question. Then you must decide, is this question true or is this question false? Do you see that the true and the false is in double inverted commas? So you do not type two single inverted commas, it's a one-shot double one. And then in between the questions and the true and the false, in other words, each section of the if function, there's a semicolon. Depending on your computer, but mostly it's likely semicolon. In other words, what is the question? What is the answer if this question is true? What is the answer if this question is false? So here I have an example. If you look at this screenshot that I've put there, the question is F2 more than 70%? Now you can see at the moment F2 is 75%. So if it is more than 70%, the answer will be pass. Do you see the pass is in inverted commas? And if it is not more than 70%, then the answer is fail. So there I have the formula. If you press enter, then in this case, you will see that F2 will be pass. Remember as well, I like to use the tool tips. So when you start typing your formula, right below the formula, you can see I've put it on the screenshot as well. There is the tool tip. It shows you the logical test is what is the question, then what is the value if it is true, and what is the value if it is false. Let me carry on here quickly. So you will find all these options, different options for if functions on page 201 of your books. So remember, when the answer refers to a text, in other words, the true or the false, you use double inverted commas. When it's numbers that the answer refers to, you do not need to put it in inverted commas. And exactly the same is if the answer refers to a cell reference, instead of true, you say B2 or C2. Then you don't need to put that in inverted commas. The if function is really important, and you will find the if function from now on in every single test and exam, and right up to matric. Even in matric, they do not only ask the extended if function, but the normal if function, as you see here, also gets asked to matric. So this is a huge, very, very, very important that you must know that. Any questions about the if function?
I just quickly want to see here.
Anybody about the if function? You will see in your books as well on page 201, there's an activity. I would really suggest that you do this activity. It's good exercise and it's good practice for getting this if function for you to know this if function very well. So do the exercises in the books. It's really there to help you, and this specific exercise is an excellent one. Okay, let's carry on with Excel. Now we're going to do charts. The nice thing about the charts in grade 11 and in grade 12, it's usually quite a lot of marks that you can get for it, and it's not difficult. It's much easier than functions and formulas, and if that is an area where you struggle, then at least the charts are where you can make up some of your marks. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to select the data that you need to make a chart of. You can see in the screenshot, I have selected A1 to B7. Then you go to insert and then you choose the type of chart. You can see here I chose a column chart, and on the next screen there I've made my chart. Now, the minute you made a chart, you will have chart tools which will appear on your screen. On the right-hand side, if you go to your chart tools, the design, on the left-hand side, you will find your add chart element. That is the most important button about that you can get with charts. So axis, you're not really going to use axis titles. That is your horizontal title, your vertical title. If you click there, then you give your charts axis titles. Chart title, you just click on chart title and you add the title that needs to be there. Data labels, that is where you need to put a value above each column or in each slice of the specific chart, very popular in exams and tests. Grid lines, sometimes they will ask you to select grid lines or deselect grid lines. And then the legend, remember the legend is the key in your chart, which tells you what each color in your chart means. Sometimes they will tell you the legend must be at the top or on the left hand side or on the right hand side. So depending what's being asked, that is where you're going to click. When you want to place a chart in a document, you do not use copy and paste, because if you paste, it will not paste a link. And from now on, they will usually ask you, when you do need to place a chart in a document, that is a Word document, then you would need to link it. So you right click on the chart, you say copy, then you go into Word, and you do not use paste. You go to the paste drop-down arrow and you use paste special, and then this window will open. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to select in the middle that it's a Microsoft Excel chart object. On the left-hand side, you can see paste link. And on the right-hand side, you can see display as icon. So that all depends on the question that they will ask you in your exams. They will normally ask something like this. Paste this chart as a link into your Word document. Ensure that the link displays as an icon. Then you would click on paste link and display as icon. That means then if you make any changes to your chart in Excel, it will automatically make the change in your pasted chart in Word. If you right click on it and you just say edit, then it will apply all the changes that you've made. So you do not need to copy and paste once again. So that is usually, this paste one is usually a 2 or 3 mark question, depending on what is being asked. You will see in your books as well, on page 204, there's also a good activity. And on page 205, activity 3 is also very good. On page 206, you will see there's a practical module activity. So please, there they have a little bit of a combined activity with the if functions and the charts. So that is also very good to study. Any questions on the charts? Any questions on the charts? Okay, right. Then we are going to carry on with Excel. With Access, sorry. Now, Access is the one area where many people struggle. But if you do Access from the beginning correct, you will find that it's actually one of the easiest programs that you can use. And before we start with the queries, I just quickly want to recap you. In last term, we had to create tables. So remember, when you create a new table, you go to create and table design, and then you can choose your data types, your properties, all those kind of things. Now, when you create a new query, you also go to create and you also choose query design. It is much easier to create a query in query design than if you would do it in a wizard. Now, when you clicked on query design, the show table button or window will appear. There would be a list of all the tables that is already in there. As you can see, there's only one table, cleanser, and that is the one that you would then click on and then click on add. And then you need to close the show table window. Otherwise, you will not be able to carry on with your query. If by accident you close the show table window and you realize that you selected the incorrect table, there you will see you can just click on the show table button again. I've put the arrow there to show you where it is. And then it appears again, and then you can just choose the correct table. Right, now let's go to the second step. So there you will see in the screenshot, there is the table, the cleanser table, and it shows you all the names of the fields that is in that table. Now, if we want to enter a field into the query, in the cleanser table, you just double click on name, double click on type, double click on price, double click on size, and it will automatically appear at the bottom into your query. All right, and then you will see, if we look at the bottom now, you can see I've entered those 4 fields already, and you can also sort, and you can decide if something must be shown or not. And there's also a criteria line and an OR line. There are examples of different criteria on page 245, but we are going to have a look at some of them quickly. Okay, so we are going to do together activity 3, which is in your book on page 246. So it says there we need to create a query based on the volunteer data table. Now remember, you will find this volunteer data you will find in on your CD that you received with your books. It's under Data for Learners, and it is module 5.3. Module 5.3. There you will find this database. You open it, and then it says create a query based on the volunteer data table. And then you need to display your surname, first name, cell name, interest. We need to sort it according to surname and display only interest in birds. So let's start. So first thing, you click on create and query design, and then your show table window will appear. You would then click on volunteer data because that is the table that they asked us to use, and then you would click on your add button. There you will see there is your volunteer data table. And now we need to enter only those 4 fields. So you double click on each one of them. As you can see, I have done in the screenshot below. Then we need to sort, and we need to sort it according to surname. So in the sort line below surname, you click there and then a drop-down arrow will appear where you can then choose ascending or descending. Remember, ascending, A to Z, and then descending is just the other way around. Right, then they say that we want to show only an interest in birds. So in the interest field, in the criteria line, all you do is you type the birds and then your query will work. Sometimes they tell you you must have 2 criteria. So I'm playing around a little bit now and just venturing off from the activity. If you need to add more than 1 criteria, in other words, this person is interested in birds and dogs, then you type birds and dogs. No inverted commas, no nothing funny, just birds and dogs. Sometimes they would say, okay, birds or dogs, then you would put it below each other. You will see there the birds is in inverted commas. The minute you go to a different line, Access will automatically enter those inverted commas. You must not enter it, otherwise it will not work. You must leave Access to do it automatically. Okay, and then there's something else that I like to ask. Sometimes they tell you, okay, we want somebody who's interested in birds, but only all those people whose surnames starts with an S. So now you can see we have got 2 different fields where we would like to have the criteria on. Birds we have under interest, but now we need to put the surname only those that start with an S. And the criteria for that would be then like and an S and then an asterisk. The asterisk is your wild card because remember there's no surname S. There are only surnames that starts with an S. In other words, it's an S with any amount of characters that follow it. But there are many different surnames that starts with an S. So we cannot say how many characters, we just know that there are characters following the S. And that is why you put in the asterisk. That means any amount of characters and any characters. And then it will give you all the surnames that starts with an S who's got an interest in birds. Okay, sometimes you need fields that must not be shown, but you still need to use the fields for your criteria. In other words, it says they show only first name, surname, and cell number of people who have interest in birds. In other words, they do not want to see the interest field, but we need the interest field because we need to add the criteria of birds. That is why you can just deselect the show button. So even if many students get mixed up here, they get confused because they think they're not supposed to show this field and therefore they cannot add the field to the criteria. Yes, you can add the field to the criteria. You just deselect the show button and then all that will appear when you run this query is first name, surname and cell number, but automatically only the data for the bird's interest will show them. Are there any questions about what we've done now with Access?
I'm just quickly looking for you. I see there's one hand, Henry.
Hello, Henry.
Henry, you're self-muted. If you want to ask a question, can you just quickly unmute yourself? There you go.
Jammer juffrou, dit maak my maar deurmekaar. Ja, juffrou,
Dis reg.
my probleem is hoe kom ek by die werk van 5 soos ek het die CD ingesit van 5.2, ag 5.3 en ek het die access data gekry van volunteers. Moet ek net in hom ingaan en dan
Ja.
Ai,
Ja, jy
okay.
sit op hom dat die database oopmaak en dan sien jy aan die linkerkant al die tables en queries en forms en reports wat reeds gelaai is op daardie databases en dan gebruik jy jou ribbons daarbo om by te voeg wat moet bygevoeg word.
Okay, dit maak
Okay.
meer sin. Dankie juffrou.
Okay, somebody else?
Have a look. Lindy van Tonder.
Hallo Lindy, how can I help?
Hi, so my naam is eintlik Donovan, dis my ma se naam eintlik. So my vraag is ek het nou die CD vir die werk, maar ek wil net weet is daar 'n plek waar ek dit kan download want ongelukkig het my rekenaar nou nie 'n CD leser nie.
Ja, weet jy, ek weet nie of dit op my impak iewers gelaai is nie, maar wat jy kan doen is jy kan dalk net vir my op jou questions gee net vir my jou e-mailadres en sê vir my wat dit is wat jy wil hê, dan sal ek dit sommer vir jou gou mail, hoor.
Okay, dankie, dit reg.
Okay. Anybody else?
We can have a look here. There's Tristan.
Hallo Tristan.
Tristan, you're self-muted. If you just want to ask a question, can you just quickly unmute yourself? There you go.
Okay. Dankie juffrou. Ek wil weet hoe maak ek 'n nuwe query?
Okay, onthou jy gaan as jy 'n nuwe query wil maak, dan gaan jy na insert en jy kies of jy gaan na create, jy gaan na create en dan klik jy query design. Onthou dan maak jou show table window oop en dan kies jy die table wat jy wil gebruik.
Okay, nou weet ek hoe hierdie flipping ding werk. Want ek in Excel, Access is nie balance.
Ja, jy
Okay,
moet
dankie.
Access oefen, hoor, want as jy Access goed
Nee, ek
ken,
doen
is
hem.
dit baie maklik
Ek
om te doen. Dit tel baie punte, hoor.
Ja, ek weet, maar ek hou nie van Access nie. Maar ek oefen dit, maar nee. Maar ek het net nie geweet hoe ek 'n query maak nie. Nou weet ek hoe om die nuwe goed te maak. Ek
Ja.
nee, maar
Okay. Anybody
Dan-
else?
Last one is Waldo.
Waldo? Hello Waldo, what is your question?
I'm struggling to get the thing downloaded because whenever I try going onto the link, then it says that it's failed to go onto the link.
Do you mean the handout?
Yes.
Can you send us just an email at academics@impact.co.za, then we will forward that through to you.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. It seems like it's all the questions, Mariana.
Okay, all right. So you will see on your books as well, there's a good practical module, a good practical activity on page 252, where they do practice the queries. The queries is a huge part of your Access. And you will find as well next year when you are in grade 12 that even with your queries, it gets expanded a lot. And it is important that you do understand the queries. Okay, let's carry on. Now we are going to start with module 5.4, and that's refining tables in Access. Last term, we created new tables and we did the basic things for a table in Access. When we need to start making changes to tables, you need to go to design view for that. Remember, I always tell my students as well, when you are in trouble, go to design view. it will most of the times get you out of trouble. So if you try to do something on your screen and you cannot find it and you are lost and you don't know what to do, just go to design view. You will find some kind of keyword or indication of what you must do. Now, the first thing that you need to know is a primary key. A primary key is a unique field. In other words, if you think of people's ID numbers, it is against the law for two people to have the same ID number. Therefore, it must be a unique field. If you also keep in mind the scenario for access normally, is if you are in design view, it is somebody that designs what must come in a table, what fields must be used, which data types, etc., etc. But when you move your table to normal data sheet view, then many times it is somebody like a secretary or a PA that needs to enter all those records and data. And therefore, it's many times not the same people that designs the table and those who enters the data. So you need to assign the ID file specifically as a primary key so that when the secretary types in maybe 2 ID numbers by accident or something like that, then there will be a message that will tell you you cannot use that field. To assign a field as a primary key, you just click on ID in the field names, and then you click on primary key on your ribbon. You can also right-click and choose primary key. Doesn't matter which method you use, but you will see a little key appearing next to the word ID. Many times they will tell you in an exam to assign a primary key to the most appropriate field. So they don't tell you which field. So then you need to go and have a look at the field names. And many times you must look for a field that has the word ID somewhere in it. And maybe if there is nothing like that, then cell number would also be a good one because no two people have the same cell number. Or look for a field that will, if you think about that field, that you can think, okay, there cannot be two of the same in that specific field. So keep an open mind. It's also a good theory question for a theory exam. It's also something that appears there quite regularly. They also like to ask in your theory exam, explain what a primary key is. If you say then it's a unique field, which means no duplicates, you will get your mark for that explanation. Okay, now we're going to start with the input masks. What the input masks are, it's on page 257 of your books. It means that you are putting a restriction on a specific field for the format of that field. And they will give you a whole list on page 257, and it goes over to 258 as well, of the different input masks. But I have put down 6 input masks here for you. And if you remember these 6, you cannot go wrong because it will cover every single thing. Luckily, as well, usually at the end of your test paper or your exam paper, you will have a list of input masks, but they do give you the whole list. And if you're not really sure, then you might get confused. So remember these 6. The first one is the uppercase one. So if they tell you that you must put it in uppercase, then you need to put the uppercase sign. It's right above the full stop on your keyboard. Then lowercase is just the other way around. It's right above the comma on your keyboard. A capital letter L means one compulsory letter. And a question mark means one optional letter. A 0, that's a 0, not a O. A 0 means one compulsory number, and a 9 means one optional number. So I've put an example down here. So what would the input mask be of the following? So they give us two codes. One is BU43 and the second one is ZR9. So what will be the input mask that will apply to both those codes? So the first thing that you need to notice is that both the codes are made up of capital letters. So you first need to put there the capital letter sign. Then both of those codes have got two letters. In other words, LL. Both of those codes have got at least one number. Therefore, it's the 0. And then only one of those two codes have a second number, which tells us a second number is optional. In other words, that is a 9. And therefore, the answer will be uppercase LL09. Okay, are there any questions about input masks? You will for certain get this in tests and exams, and this is also right through to the year-end exam of grade 12. So it is extremely important that you do understand input masks. Any questions about input masks?
I hope I pronounce it correctly. It's Cheyenne.
Okay. Hello, Cheyenne.
Hi. I'm not quite understanding where you're getting the codes. Could you please just explain? I'm not sure the code thingy. Like, I'm just a bit lost.
You don't know where to put the input mask. If you go to your table design view and you click on the specific field in the properties below, there where you see your field size, there you will find the input mask. And then you just click there and then you just start typing the formats. In this case, the uppercase LL09. Does that make sense?
Oh, and if they give you BU43, do you just type in BU43 or?
No. You don't type in the codes at all. You only type the formats. Remember, those codes are what you are going to type when you are in data sheet view. In other words, the secretary is filling in the data, so she's filling in that specific code. But you must tell her as a designer what the format of that code must be. And that is why you do it in design view. And the format means it must be capital letters, there must be two letters, there must be at least one number and maybe a second number. So you don't type in the code itself, you type in the format of the codes. Does that make more sense?
Oh, so you mean like B would be the lowercase, like that?
Yes. So you don't type in the input mask in your properties. You don't type in BU43, not at all. You only type in the formatting. When you are in your data sheet view, when you are the secretary, then you can start typing in. And if you type in a code which is not according to that format of your input mask, then it will show you an error. Because it means you are only allowed to type in there a capital letter with two letters or one number, maybe a second number. That's all you are allowed to add in that specific field when you are in data sheet view. But in design view, you need to design the format of it. So no data comes in your design view, only formats.
But how will you know what to specifically type? You have to type in a particular code as a particular code represents.
No, you you don't type in a code, except if they tell you you must add a code in datasheet view. These are just examples of what the formats of codes must be. You just type in the format in your design view. You don't type in the codes itself. That comes in datasheet view. And only if they ask you to type it in. They only ask you now is how do you design the format of it? If you have, for example, codes that look like this. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, good. Any more questions?
Just got trying to look here. Tristan has his hand up. Tristan,
Okay,
yourself,
hello,
Nathan.
Tristan.
Ja.
Hallo,
Juffrou,
Tristan.
Hallo juffrou. Ek kry nie die waarvoor soek ek nou weer? Die design
Ons gaan nou
weer.
na die design view. So sê nou maar ons het 'n field met die naam van code, dan klik jy op dit, dan onder in jou properties. Daar gaan jy sien waar jy jou field sizes verander. Daar gaan jy 'n property sien input mask en dis waar jy hierdie formaat gaan intik.
Ek sien dit nie.
Maak vir my 'n
Wat?
screenshot van jou skerm en dan sit jy dit vir my in jou question.
Ek kan nie. Want ek luister na die webinar op my selfoon.
Okay, maar wat jy nou doen is wanneer jy jou questions doen, dan gaan na jou rekenaar toe, dan
Wait, nee, ek het dit.
Het jy dit gekry?
Ja,
Okay,
hy
goed.
cellphone number en sulke goed nie. Hy werk
Ja.
net op sy.
Ja. Okay. Any more
Okay.
questions? Anybody else?
For you. There's one, Catherine.
Hello, Kashrin.
Hi, morning. If you're using input mask, will there be a question in the exam where they've maybe made an error and you need to rectify it?
It doesn't happen a lot, but there's no reason why it cannot be there.
Okay. And then what would you do? Just put in the formula?
Yes, then you just type in the correct formula and then that's usually what they want you to do.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
Do you want to have a look for you? Henry Delport.
Hallo Henry.
Hallo juffrou, ek het maar dieselfde probleem eintlik as Tristan gekry. Ek sukkel om properties te kry van die spesifieke ding.
Kyk, as jy jou table oopmaak, jy maak jou table spesifiek oop. En dan gaan jy na view en design view.
View.
Okay. En design view.
Yeah. Okay.
Dan sal jy sien daar's 'n lys van field names. Klik nou op enige een van daai field names. En dan sal jy sien onder al die field names, daar is jou properties.
O, daar's hy. Okay. Dankie baie vrou.
Okay. All right. Anybody else?
Doesn't seem like it, Mariana.
Okay.
No, doesn't seem like it.
Okay. All right. I can give you another example as well. What they also like to ask in exams is many times they ask you put in an input mask for a cell number. Now you know that a cell number has got 10 numbers. 10 compulsory numbers, and therefore you would put then in your input mask 10 zeros. You don't put the cell number, you put the 10 zeros there because in the input mask you only put the formatting. You do not put in the code itself. Okay, let us carry on. Now, when we want to add a default value, that is when you want a specific value to appear in every new record. For example, if a field called color must have a default of yellow. So you can see I have clicked in the screenshot here on color, and in the properties at the bottom, I clicked on default value and I chose yellow. That will now appear in all your fields except if you change it in datasheet view. Now, a lookup list is also something that is quite regularly asked. Sometimes they tell you you must have options. In other words, we want to show different colors. Then you choose your data type drop-down arrow right next to color, as I've done, and you click on Lookup Wizard. Now you can follow the steps of the wizard. The first one is you will type in the values you want and you click on Next. Second step, you type in the colors. Here I've typed in yellow, green and blue, and then you click on Next, and then it's usually the number of your, the name of your field will already appear. You just click on Finish. Then this is what happens. If you go to your properties, you will see there are two tabs, a general tab and a lookup tab. Normally you are just in the general tab where you find your field size, etc. But if you click on the lookup tab, you will see there the row source is yellow, green and blue. In tests and exams, they sometimes tell you you must add a new option. In other words, it's of a lookup list that has already been created. So you don't create a new one. They wanted to add, then you would add it here. Or if they tell you you need to remove an option, then you just delete what you need to do there. What it looks like in datasheet view is if you go to datasheet view and you click next to color, there's a drop down arrow and then you can choose yellow, green or blue. All right. Validation rules. That is also quite important. That's where you place a restriction, and examples for that is on page 262. So let's, for example, put a validation rule on the grade field I have here. So you click on grade, and if you go down below in your properties, you will see there's a validation rule and a validation text. For example, now they say we must show only grades 10, 11 and 12. In other words, the secretary, when she is in datasheet view, is not allowed to type in 9876. She's only allowed to type in either 10, 11 or 12. So a validation rule is then, in this case, between 10 and 12. That I find is the easiest option, but you can also use greater than and equals to 10 and smaller than and equals to 12. You will get your marks for any one of those two options. They usually do not mind which one you use, as long as it works. Then you need to tell the secretary what the rule is about, because let's say, for instance, the secretary does type in datasheet view a 9. Now she will get an error. Remember, she did not design this table, so she will not know what she's done wrong. So you must give her a validation text so that she knows, okay, I can only type in 10, 11 and 12. And there you can see I've typed in validation text, only grades 10, 11 and 12 to be entered. There's no specific formula or language or anything for that, so you can even type it in Afrikaans if you like, as long as it explains what the validation rule is about. So if the secretary in a datasheet view enters a 9, then this text message will appear, and then she knows what she's done wrong. So that is very important. Any questions about validation rules, default values, and so on?
I'll just quickly have a look for you. I see one hand. I hope I pronounce it correctly. Famida.
Good morning, Famida.
You are self-muted if you want to ask a question. Okay, doesn't seem like it. The hand was put down.
Okay.
Just trying to see if there's anybody else. Cheyenne again. Cheyenne?
I just want to clarify quickly. What is a wizard? Just want to clarify quickly.
Okay, you are breaking up. I cannot hear you clearly. Just repeat the question.
I just want to clarify quickly. What is a wizard again?
A wizard is where you find step-by-step options that you can choose. So if you click on, for example, look up wizard, then you can choose step 1, what must I do? Then you click on next, then step 2, what must I do? Click whatever options you want, click on next, and so on until you finish. So it's a step-by-step guide to do a specific task.
Any task, any task.
Okay. Anybody else?
Just go down and have a look for you. Luca.
Okay.
Okay, doesn't seem like it. It seems like all the questions, Mariana.
Okay, guys, well, that is my story for today. Please remember to post all your questions in that question box. I will answer all of them. And I'm very glad that you all signed in today at the webinar. And I hope that you did learn something. Please don't dismiss the activities that you have in your books as well. Some of them are really very good. And if there are any of those activities as well which you struggle with, please contact me. I will really help anytime. And then good luck with everything. And until the next webinar, goodbye.